We are live here and we are talking about random political topics. So, I happen to know a thing or two about politics. Whenever I was a kid, I just paid attention to what was happening at the time, which would be George W. Bush and, topics like stem cell research. Whenever you put in that ban, I remember listening to that on the radio in the car, you know, things like this. And I continued to watch that as YouTube grew into existence around 2006, I believe, or really was that one. So, trying to make the big distinction in my mind between 2004 and 2006, because those are two big different years, right? Anyways, um, yeah, I followed politics pretty closely with YouTube. So I watched old 1980s, 1970s, 60s. I watched stuff that was in black and white. I watched just all sorts of historical films of political speakers. And I studied and listened to all these different people who like constructed historical and political narratives of previous times and people who use primary sources backed up what they said with evidence and you know it's a really all-encompassing subject because it's about taxation and money and human capital and all domains of business and enterprise and education and healthcare and science and technology and like everything, right? So it's like it's all subjects plus more, but also it's very competitive. And if you really get down to the brass tacks of it, it's specifically about using the taxpayer funds and taking control of this military industrial machine, the military industrial complex. Dwight D. Eisenhower, obviously, and many others talked about. And I also have to take a stab at General MacArthur in the same sentence of mentioning Dwight D. Eisenhower. General MacArthur is basically the kind of person that they would be talking about, and Doctor Strangelove as well. You know, we went from Hiroshima and Nagasaki to a war in Korea that was aiming at lower China. It could have gone anywhere with a madman at the helm who is, as I've heard described General MacArthur from his critics, he was like uh he was a war brat, specifically is the terminology that you use. So his parents were also in the military. His dad was like some top official and he also rose to be a top official. So for him, he was just a war hawk. He wanted to go kill everybody and just take everything. That was just who he was. And he tried to get through Korea. And that's why I kind of resonate with North Korea and like the war struggle of North Koreans and Kim Il Sung. Kim Il Sung is probably a villain of some sort. I just don't know who, like, how, what actually happened. There were probably things done that were unsavory in the name of the war effort. But then also, if you look at the nuclear weapons and General MacArthur and his general attitude towards war and the aristocracy of the United States that was influencing the political realm of things, you can understand why you would fight against that, right? So, you know, and I don't understand with all the sanctions and things like this. And then I also have seen some stuff from inside of North Korea where it's I don't know, like a philosopher. One of the things that really was impactful to me, since I'm talking about long ago, talking 2000 whatevers as a teenager, hearing from North Koreans living in a apartment in North Korea, this guy who works in like a university and has something to do with philosophy, and being asked by journalists how he like perceives his life. And the truth is that it's really not that much different than any other person that would live in an apartment, say in China or even in the United States. And like ultimately, they had their kind of like era. of like, and then him being like an academic, I think he had a degree of awareness of this stuff. And I don't really know what to say about it other than, um, life is relative to where you have your tabula rasa and how that is set, right? You don't really have much control as a child to do anything to influence your immediate vicinity. In certain extents, you're just kind of caged by the decisions of a parent or your local vicinity where you grow up. So to a North Korean, you know, it's like actually not all that bad of a life. You have a very active civic, like participatory, like imagine just being a human. Imagine you're born North Korean and you're not one of these people who are like in a crazy camp or something like this. You're just living in like downtown Pyongyang, and there are like shops and people have money and they have access to cars. Of course, it's not like as, you know, accessible and as like lavish as the United States and other Western countries because of resource allocation issues. But if they had open trade, then they would be just as sophisticated as South Korea, probably. And they probably have had long time standing issues. I don't know all of what happened, and also a lot of the communist revolution, I guess, was like questionable, but so was the United States. I don't really know. We got involved in the Philippines and Japan as kind of a colonialist uh, structure. Like people don't really give credence to what the United States did in the post-war World War II after the treaty. A lot of what's happened with Japan is like they've come in with Western money and spent, and they've aimed to achieve this particular type of area where it's like, I don't know, um, everybody kind of lives at a certain standard of living without necessarily seeking to control things. It's a very Japanese mindset, right? That's where you get people who are like, they just like spend money on random video games and cards and stuff. They work at some dead end job. They get a little bit of money on the weekend. They buy something here and there. They're pretty much set into paying like their rent, and then they're going to have like this much left over and they're going to spend it on consumptive activities. And there's never going to be any kind of like generative, you know what I mean? They're not like going to build something or make something. A lot of people live like that. So that's political, is my basic assertion here. This Japanese lifestyle of plastic and paper and cardboard and, you know, drawings and digital stories of fake people and, songs and things like this, they like distract you from like real life and like the true like human physical world, which I would say it would be something like living on like a homestead. So a lot of Japanese people are refusing to like live in the countryside because they don't want to miss like the glamour of being in a city where there's all these people and you can go drinking, and then there's like lots of nightlife and attractive people and like foreigners and money to be made and like, you know, games that you can play and stuff like this. But like it gets a little bit old just reading manga and watching anime, and like the other side of Japan interests me more than the cities. Like I would go to the cities, don't get me wrong, but like the idea that I always had about Japan is would be like more cool to go a ways outside of a city and then live in like a countryside somewhere. Like that would be kind of cool. You can go to the city, but you don't necessarily have to. You just have super fast internet because you're in Japan, and they'll still have super fast internet. I watched a documentary one time about a couple that I think were like Australian Japanese, and they were living in Japan, and they had children, and they were talking about like delivery times and stuff, and it would be like it could take a week to get. There's no such thing as like 2 day delivery, and a lot of the stuff has to come from some external port, and like it's just a different way of living. And then people drive differently. They don't have the same kind of regimen as like the American Postal Service. Like the Pony Express was a completely different way of doing mail networks. And whenever they switched to cars, they kept it the same. And I guess like they probably, it like probably reflects the state of Japanese like delivery systems. Like people go like once a week they'll have like a car that drives that distance. I don't even know. It'd be interesting to know about different countries' logistic systems, especially because whenever logistic systems collapse, that's a big deal. People can't get access to things, like Eastern Europe, a lot of times they can't get access to technology and stuff, and there's huge import costs. Other countries like that, North Korea has to deal with those, so that's political. And, I would just start with ideologically recognizing that that is a stance that I hold. Like General MacArthur is the epitome of the military industrial complex that Dwight D. Eisenhower was warning against. Uh, Pushing into Korea was questionable, as was Vietnam, and just generally the attitude towards the Philippines and Japan and modern South Korea and North Korea as well. With sanctions and import restrictions, kind of, I don't know, they're territorially bound to an extent. They don't have a huge amount of territory, so you can kind of push them around as a political opponent, but also not really. Like, what's the point? They have very dense populations. Um, but then also we recognize that maybe humans are not as lucrative as you would think, right? Concurrent viewers 1. Welcome to the stream. I don't see any chat right yet, but hello for one person that has arrived on the stream. If you want to say anything, you have my direct attention. I'm just sitting here talking about all the various actions of the United States government surrounding World War II and treating Japan, the Philippines, and Vietnam, modern South Korea, and North Korea as colonies or sort of vassal states, criticizing General MacArthur, and saying that he's the epitome of what Dwight D. Eisenhower was warning against. I don't know that I necessarily support everything that North Korea or like some random Japanese political forces, which I don't understand. I don't know. It's not that everything would be perfect without them or that everything they always did was good or bad, but recognizing that that force exists and that there's a reason to question it. One view. Concurrent viewers 0. Nobody is here. Politics. We're talking politics, people. So, yeah, forget the Cold War. I kind of side with those on the other side of the Cold War divide. The United States is telling you to like hate these external forces and like don't blame them. It's like we're over here. We used to have an isolationist policy. We have the opposite of an isolationist policy. And part of that comes from this kind of mentality that if you get access to yellow cake uranium and you start enriching uranium and you make a bomb or you make a dirty bomb or something like that, or you do yada yada or yada yada with resources, it's really easy to do damage. Like any idiot can spend like $5 to like, attack somebody as much as you could buy like any random item. You couldn't buy much with $5 these days. I'll tell you that. So this is why politics is important. It's about distribution. It's about logistics networks. It's about mail systems. It's about food growing and distribution and pricing. It's about like law and order and can you hold people accountable? Like who gets to like use force? Is there like any sort of fairness in how that's arbitrated whenever it is relevant in society? It's about how much do people earn, how much do people get to spend, what kind of standard of living do they get to achieve what they want to, like what is, if you go and ask people honestly, like if they would rather be doing something else, what would they say? That's gross domestic happiness, you could say. Uh, that's how you would start quantifying things like freedom and, economic success, these things which are more abstract. It's like, do people actually want to be doing the things that they're doing? And do they feel like they have the capacity to self actualize? Or do they feel inhibited? You know, it's difficult to quantify these sort of things. Uh, but clearly, if somebody's telling you, like I need money, I'm not one of these people that's getting millions of views and huge donations. Instead, I'm sitting here noticing that they've used this digital metadata scraping to attack people. Basically, Face Miner is completely correct. Like 9/11 here and Face Miner, they go hand in hand. It's like, uh, yeah, stupid. This is what we're here talking about. Is all the stuff is dumb, all the recommends. You need to be paying more attention to money. Uh, the idea of like a second Cold War. It's not really a Cold War because they're actively killing each other. As far as like Russia, Joe Biden is just like the worst thing ever, and so is the United States. Like that's how I interpret it. I think that Vladimir Putin should have been allowed to have access to like a warm port of water because he's like a huge yacht person and he wanted to do that, and there was general sentiment it could have gone like this. Instead of having this huge war, he could have had the small amount of territory that he actually wanted, and it would have just been like, all right, well, that's it, we're done. He's got like Georgia and he got that, and then you're like, you're done, like cut off. And it's all for show, probably more than anything, right? They just cyclically are going and taking out alcoholics and stuff like that. It's one of the things I heard the other day. The saddest part about Russia is that there are a lot of people who look at joining the military and see like, oh, that's a good like military, that's like a good economic option because they come from such bad backgrounds. And it's like they don't realize that they're in like a losing front. So to me, it's like they're just going in and like rooting out alcoholics and stuff like that. Stupid people. So like the way to move up in a lot of militaries, if not all militaries, is to get like young idiots and then kind of like sell them to be killed, or give them the chance to go kill people and then earn more money or be killed in the act of killing people. And then your success in the military is kind of how good of a recruiter are you. How many units can you move to go kill people? How many people have you killed? Then you also have them do these things like, you know, they, build public works projects, stuff like that. Oh, you have to build a dam. You have to build just like take military people and have them do stuff like that. Manual labor. So, yeah, projected to lose $523,000. And I'm saying instead of doing that, I want to actually like earn enough to own and operate a farm and do this stuff before I'm doing it. Like a smart person, right? I don't want to do some debt structured bullshit. Don't want to get a loan. Not stupid. I don't have any debt. I should get paid millions of dollars. These people getting millions of views for absolutely fucking nothing. Meanwhile, you get zero. You have every right to complain and even get litigious. I mean, like, I think there's a lawsuit in here somewhere. I don't know which angle and who I'm suing. I know at the very least I could find out what that mining company was. That'd be very nice. Like, oh my god. Even if I'll probably never get even of them, it's probably like a Chinese group, but like you just go fuck somebody up. Imagine you had four or five, or like 4 or 5 BTC literal and a bunch of altcoins stolen from you in 50 Ethereum. Like, fuck Poloniex, say that. Anybody that would credit not both coins on a split is doing something malicious. Any company ever that has ever received a split on a coin and not credited both should be charged with a crime. Like, legitimately, it would be like just a complete. It's just like, now you're sanctioned. Like, you can't do that. You know exactly what you're doing. Like, every single one of these exchanges, every time there's ever been a split like that, it's always been a cheat. It's always been something nefarious. And to legitimize Ethereum after knowing that that's how the coin started was with this huge hack. Like a complete mistake. It's terrible. They do all these dumb CryptoKitties thing. The whole point is tax evasion and creating these dumb assets that you can wash trade money that's unclean in. So this is politics. It's taking your attention and trying to show you a certain way of the world, convince you of certain realities. China is undermining your family. So
Needed.
I don't really trust Zelensky. I think we gave them tons of money. I think Biden is guilty of war crimes, basically. He's trying to sanction the ICC. I think that Vladimir Putin, they had like a legitimate referendum, and then they kind of tried to like move in, and then they immediately got shot at, and then they shot back, and then they were like, what the fuck? And then ever since then, it's been like Vladimir Putin wanted for war crimes. And it's like, we're doing the democracy thing. What the fuck is wrong with you people? And he's like, sorry, Jack, democracy doesn't include you having gasoline or a warm water port. We blew up that pipeline, and also, you're a war criminal.
And a bit strange. Unfortunately, regrettably, Russia, using
I don't
Chinese
know.
influence on the region, using Chinese diplomat.
Putin's case for I he did present a case for this though. It's a just cause for war. So his just cause for war was basically like, whenever you've killed a bunch of people, as like it was beyond that, which leads me to think that they're just cooperating and killing people. You know, it's like Skull and Bone Society. They get, it's like, oh, you think that there's like these characters which are fighting, but it's like they're cooperating. It's like all three of them. They were going to G8, G7 summits and stuff like this. I don't know. You never know. Can't trust people. What is Putin's Casus Belli? Yeah, there we have 5-year-old over there. No, there's a really well done video on it, which is no longer being served in search results. You know, the search results are just so completely destroyed. It's like, you can't reference anything. If you search the same thing 2 different weeks, you're not gonna see the same thing. You know, it's like, oh, here's the current bullshit, whatever the fuck this stuff is. Uh, you're not gonna find the really well done video that presents the case well. That kid is the closest thing that you'll see to what I'm talking about. They literally litigated that all the search results must be, you know, promoting authoritative sources, whatever that means, which means that they won't be accurate. Means that they're like it's another step beyond pay to get promoted or pay for visibility. It's you can't even purchase visibility, and we have a monopoly on visibility. That's what they're seeking.
So last time we left off is Jewish, and referring to a Jewish person as a Nazi is just farther from the truth. Turkmenistan? Who knows? History buffs are having a field day.
Yeah, whatever,
Speak
bro.
land of the Rus, which is Slavic. Before Ukraine was annexed by the Russian Empire in the
No, I'm talking about something which is much different than that. Yeah, Putin, I don't think he ever expected there to be such a huge resistance to him taking this area. And I think that this just kind of happened. Or it was planned, and you can basically assume that Joe Biden and Putin are taking orders from the same group. You know, they're working in you think you see one thing, but there's actually another thing. They funnel a bunch of money and they generate the excuse for it, which is the war, which requires two sides. But nobody wants to get arrested for it. So how do you like manage responsibility? Well, you create the character, and then they're basically immune from prosecution locally, and then they run out the clock until they're dead. So they'll just be killing people till they die. You know, killing people, slaving them, attaching them to certain financial. You know what I mean? You enslave somebody whenever you say your time is worth this much money, and you know you'll do this every day, and you know you're so lucky that I allow you to. You know, this is the earth. Any individual can like grow all the food they need and run around, do anything. You should be able to acquire materials, build your own fucking car, you know, whatever else. But obviously, with markets, it's not possible to. So that's why you have to be super. You have to press people very, very directly about money, how much you're making, how much, you know, the authority to create money, the authority to sanction people, you know, the authority to basically manipulate social structures. Think about chimpanzees and how they kill the most dominant males in the hierarchy whenever they get tired of them. There's different types of leaders. Some are more aggressive and they get to the top by like killing people a lot, and then others kind of like are just like really strong naturally or likable. Some have like positive social, so there's like all sorts of different types of grouping of humans as well as chimpanzees and other animals. And we're very strange animals because we have such a huge capacity to achieve things. We can manipulate our environment, and we have very long lifespans, and we live very high quality lives. But it all depends upon access to markets. So cutting people off from markets is as good as you can get to trying to kill them. Same thing goes for getting them fired. That's why it's basically like the closest thing you can do to trying to kill somebody that's allowed is like trying to sabotage their career or their reputation. It's illegal to do such on illegitimate basis, but people do it anyways. People just make shit up And now we probably have more fake stuff than ever. So, the grand conspiracy would be basically that, Zelensky and Putin are playing like two different actors, and then he's like, oh, hey, like, I gotta send in, they like, and then they got these people that are like super smart, would be my assumption, right? So, like, Israeli, uh, Ukraine intelligence and Russian intelligence, they have a small overlapping of circles, small amount of personnel, very big leaders, very big money people, the banking authorities. And they see a ton of people who are like alcoholic chain smokers that would pick up a gun and go fight if they were enticed with a small amount of money or otherwise told to do so with very little resistance. And then they're like, well, if we just sent all these people to die, we'd make a ton of money, and then we could like take all the women and just move in with new stuff, build new places, use new laborers that don't drink so much and, think so much of them, you know what I mean? And then you can take the ones that live and they're your new servants as well. And they'll be like so happy to be able to finally live in an apartment, you know what I mean? And not be at war. They'll do whatever work you tell them to do. They're these like useful idiots. And every country is basically running the same gambit. So there are these different fools of politics, the people who join the militaries and these various different low level, low income, no real capacity for self-defining and manipulating of your environment. A lot of people, they don't really think external to their situation. So, yeah, I want to have the capacity to influence my environment, and I think everybody should, to be able to self-define and actually do what you want with your time and achieve the highest things which humanity are capable of achieving, right? And you specifically yourself in those domains that you want to attempt, right? But limitations, like, forget living with limitations, right? But these people, every government, they seem to be doing the same thing. You got Boris Johnson and the royal people there and all the bankers, all the people running the corporations with the migrant laborers and old-time Indian connections to the UK and various other places as well. They have all sorts of random humans farmed out. There are random Africans that are more British than the British in a lot of ways, right? Because for centuries they've just kind of been in the mix of the British Empire. Same thing with Indians. It's like they're more British than the British in a lot of cases. Not all of them. It's actually kind of rare relative to the amount of Indians out there, but you know what I mean. So, in all fairness, but at the same time, like, forget everybody. Nobody on Earth is special because they're all just a bunch of monkeys with, it's like, until proven otherwise. Like, nobody's showing up to the stream. So politically, nobody is on my side. Nobody is with me here. Nobody is discussing this. This is kind of verboten topic. My viewpoints, I think, are in general just not. People don't want things which peel back the layers of these kind of structures. You look at defense contractors and where money goes. Probably tell you way more than whatever political news story is occurring. You look at the actual defense contracts and who's being assigned them. A lot of that stuff is publicized. You know, look at a lot of these stocks and who owns what. A lot of it's done with different names and things like this, so there's not really much reason in chasing it. You just kind of get the understanding of the general effect of it. They have all these kind of garbage homes across America, and people that, you know, get shot to death in living in places like this and things like this. You know what I mean? Bad neighborhoods, bad cities. Just in general, bad homes. And there's a certain minimum mandatory wealth requirement to live with any sort of human dignity relative to the amount of knowledge that I possess about how all this shit functions, right? And I would give that consideration to anybody else as well. I think that you should consider first and foremost where you're going to put funds, first and foremost when you're considering where you're going to place your funds, is you look at how much awareness does an individual have, right? So if you're quantifying kind of existential suffering and like where you should pay attention to, the people who have the more knowledge are the people that you go to first. People that understand things more, like stuff like this, like stuff, people like me. And it's fucking dumb because there's nothing like that. It does not work like that in the least. I am, just as a note, like, I'm just gonna not open my vault, I guess. Like, yeah, I don't want to play no beta. Begins June 5th. Wow, I could care less. 4 hours. And just for the record, like, fuck this game. Like, I didn't get a single view over like 70 days. I think that's pretty politically motivated, that an individual would not get acknowledgments from anybody, that anybody could stream for, you know, 30, 40, 60 days, take more than one account. I would consider that an act of war against an individual. I think it'd be pretty stupid if you wouldn't. Like, I have a ton of stuff on here. Like, I'm not saying I won't ever resubscribe, but also it's a really fucking bad game, and I wouldn't care taking a week off. You know? Like, seriously, it's really not good. This is not a good game. Takes way too long to get gear and shit. Like, maybe a solo queue rated Battlegrounds, it'll be decent next expansion, but... And if I were making money, maybe it would be a bit different, but we don't have that. There's no social interaction in this so-called social game. It's a complete two-tiered society. You either have a 4090 and, you know, the best computers that money can buy, and you like have your own place set up. So just like, look at this dumb asshole. Like, I would immediately just ignore somebody like that. This game fucking sucks. The people that play it are terrible. I have a bunch of vaults, but like, again, like, I don't even care. It'll be here whenever I resubscribe. The gear's gonna get outdated immediately. Here's a list of characters. As you can see here, we're missing 2 on this list. The last one is time walking, so it doesn't count. Yeah, I did like all this LFR, but trying to even get into like hard mode, like trying to get into heroics or mythics, you just start to get to the point where you need to be paying people to even get in. Like that's the way to do it, or join a guild or something like that. I don't fucking care. It's way too difficult to get into groups. I don't want to waste time, especially with this many characters. I just want to get in and play the classes, each of them, and do some kind of content, which is pretty challenging. Kind of like Mythic Pluses, but it's all stacked up really fucked up, and nobody's paying any attention to this game, and nobody cares about it. If anything, it gets you negative credit for having accomplished something. It's terrible. What an awful game, and what an awful country. I think it should be literally illegal. Just to serve somebody, to serve people so disproportionately with such intention. It's with actual malice. Like, fuck this stupid game, dude. Why would I pay $15 or $16 with tax for this dumb fucking game? It's horrible. Just to go rerun the same content a million fucking times and get literally no views or appreciation for it whatsoever. Not a single like comment or view or even impression is served to the fucking stream. At what point don't you just say like fuck every one of you people and I support mass shooters? Like I would really literally support just killing as many YouTube workers as humanly possible. Like Nasima Dam is Bae, the absolute best woman to ever live. You go shoot a YouTube worker, you can maybe take her title, but that's, you know, sorry, she's always gonna be kind of the best. She's dead, so there's no competition. But you feel me? It's really bad. Imagine spending, I don't know, hundreds of hours just to have your stuff taken from you and destroyed. No acknowledgement, probably. God knows what actually occurs with people who have repositories of their stuff online these days. All I know is the United States is probably the worst country to ever exist. You could be doing so much with its stuff, but it's not. Everybody's constantly saying, but they have so much resource richness. You have no idea. It's like, yeah, and they also have a huge amount of keeping that resource richness to themselves internally. It's like being poor in a rich country may be a bit better than being rich in a poor country, or poor in a rich country, or, you know, or poor in a poor country, rather. But you really can't tell the difference. It's all relative to what you want to do personally and what you're capable of doing. So the fact that other people are extremely wealthy near you means absolutely fucking nothing. The reckoning is at hand. If anything, that just makes it worse. Okay. Yeah, see, there's so much space issues of this. Takes forever to get your bags right. Like, I don't have fucking $60 to pay on some dumb expansion. Well, they want you to pay extra too, so I'm sure it's right here. Game upgrades. Heroic Edition. Supposed to spend an extra $20. Get some dumb bullshit.
I have one-of-a-kind items.
Nothing vendors, clearly.
We will have justice.
Yeah, so we're talking politics, though, just so you know. Like, fuck the United States. What an awful country, dude. People getting shot here all the time. It's such a terrible place. I can't blame a single person for you'd rather be dead than work in, like, a warehouse somewhere for $15 an hour. Everybody out there is such a dumb asshole that tries to say that capitalism is, like, a viable way to, I can only imagine these people out there that are stuck in those kind of things. It's like, imagine actually being smart and being forced to be like, oh, well, fuck you, just go work in the mines. Nah, all that human sentience that that you cultivated that arised out of the universe through evolution that took forever. Yeah, fuck all that stuff. We don't care. You're gonna be spending the rest of your life stamping license plates. Oh no, you're not in prison or anything. It's just that you're gonna stamp license $15 an hour. That's the only work we got. Yeah, you could do that. Or you could die. You could die. You could go kill yourself if that you'd rather do that. ESPN is a stupid fucking channel. If you watch ESPN, I would assume that you're probably fucking dumb. You're probably really stupid. Go play a sport instead. Like, who the fuck cares? Minecraft is a terrible game. Idiot, dude. What a fucking terrible game. And just never have enough time to play it. So it's stupid things that has no end. Costs way too much in terms of time. 200. Like, fucking kill yourself, dude. What a joke. Yeah, take off a 0. Fuck yourself.
Come see me again.
They're the worst fucking game design I've ever fucking seen. Like, what the fuck is this?
There is much to
Oh yeah, go talk to that random NPC over in the corner. Everybody knows to do that, right? Amongst all this fucking garbage that you would never ever want to accept. Yeah, that 200 gold price just like pisses me off because it's always been lower than that. It's always been like 20 gold a bag. All of a sudden it's 200. I'm buying it now. Subscription's running out. Need bag space here. It's 10x the price. I can just leave this stuff. It'll bounce back to the other people's mailbox in 30 days as well. A video recording of it all. Just play back. What a stupid fucking game. It's like I would never recommend anybody to play this.
Baladash Malanore. Salama Ashalanore.
Yeah, honestly, just fucking kill yourself. Always, like, who the fuck cares? Like, the idea of, like, doing crafting in this game is, like, the world's worst game. You actually fucking want to sit around and do crafting. It's just a way to make money off of people. This part of the game, that's the part that people like. All the crafting and random dumbasses in trade trying to, like, steal money from you in return for bullshit that you're gonna disenchant in like a week. It is literally the world's worst game. Nobody appreciates the skill that it takes to play it. Takes forever to get good at. Once you're really good at it, people attack you for playing it or, you know, count it against you. It's not like a favorable skill to have. It's like, oh, you play WoW. As the general perception. Which is negative. Neutral negative. It's like nobody makes any fucking money on this game except for the developers. make all their money from investors who are investing in this abstract, like, bullshit. They're not even aware of what the game is. I don't got the money for a fucking subscription and expansion because this country is a fucking disgrace, dude. It's the world's worst place to live. Like, I will never stop saying that. Like, I just want to see millions of people get slaughtered in the streets. The absolute lie of freedom and democracy and capitalism. Diablo Immortal. Fucking kill yourself, dude. Call of Duty. What a fucking joke. Removed from favorites. Why the fuck would that ever be in my favorites? What a stupid fucking game. This is a terrible game as well. Pretty much everything that they put out. Yeah, Overwatch 2 is again a joke. Cataclassic is a hilarious joke as well. Fuck all that. Like, who would ever want to play any of these? Or this one, really. It's like World of Warcraft modern, like, retail you'd play over any of it. And even that, like, fuck that. What a stupid fucking country.
This is
some dumb asshole.
Attack on the United States, and we will do everything in our power for our nation, but we are resilient.
Concerned about the potential escalation of tensions between the two nations. But as we process the emotions of this horrific event, it's important to step
Retardedly fake video. China attacked Guam. Like, why the fuck not? Go ahead. Guam is the perfect example of something which is not the United States that they're trying to, like, take control of. Just like every other country. Imagine if the United States were allowed to make every country in the world like the United States. Like, who would imagine if the United States was like, hey, we'll fix your country for you. We'll make it just like ours. You'd be like, oh fuck, get the fuck away from us, you weird freak. Hell no, we want nothing to do with you. We'll kill you if you come anywhere near us. Like, fuck the United States, dude. This place is awful. Look at this. Yeah, about fucking time.
Ontario's
Like, what a fucking joke, dude. There's a million others out
first
there.
Canadian NBA star, Shea Gilgeous.
Basically, literally all
A
of
naked
them.
man leaping over a fence and running right into traffic.
He kills somebody. Like, oh.
But that's just the beginning of this wild story. Eyewitness News
She's like convinced that she hit somebody.
reporter Amy Powell spoke to the driver who caught it all on camera. She joins us now live with his story. Amy.
Matt, Mark, this happened during rush hour and very busy. Frisking leap by a naked man. He lands on his bare feet on a busy Ladera Heights street and starts running. Moments later, he's hit by a car.
It was crazy. It was a wild morning. I saw this jump from the tree
And jump
or anything. So, and then that's kind of weird. What?
After being struck.
Well, those rare times you hit somebody with your car, and then that's totally cool. It's like they blame the person you hit.
Gilgeous Alexander successfully. What do we know? His commission worked together on what they say was a 16.
Disgusted with America and the United States and YouTube. What a fucking awful place to live. Just like the markets. He should have shot a bunch of people instead. What a fucking loser, dude. A dumbass. Pray for nothing. Look at this. This is how the country is. Like, you're telling me that this happened like last week. Yeah. I mean, like, effectively is what I'm saying. Like, this happened like 2 weeks ago. Happened April 9th. Happened May 19th. Shot a blind dog immediately upon arriving to the scene. Stupid fucking country, dude. Let's talk about how I don't care what you have to say about anything.
Well, howdy.
What an awful country. What a terrible place to live. I just cannot get over how bad it is. So go fuck yourself, Dave. Like, get shot in the fucking head. Like, the suggestion of any sort of diagnosis of me. So I'll tell you what my condition is. It's lack of money having. It's being raised in the literal worst country to ever exist. I absolutely support every mass shooting of Americans because this is the world's worst fucking country. I can't get together $2 What a stupid, horrible place to live. I just fucking hate this guy's whole aesthetic. Like, I just do not like this guy. I hate basically everybody. Why the fuck would you ever want to associate with anybody when you're living in this condition?
So the reason I wanted to bring this up is to...
I hope the United States experiences a huge mass genocide, like people sending in robots to just kill people in their shitty houses made of cardboard.
Okej, fan. Das.
Just like just chilling around, and then this thing busts through your roof and starts shooting everybody.